So you were just talking about your drive in all the way from...
Yeah, near Lakes Entrance.
Far out.
Yep.
So what, 5 hours?
4, yeah.
4 hours?
Mm-hmm.
And how's the traffic?
It was great. You know, Melbourne traffic is just always fantastic. Yeah, there was only 3 crashes on the highway today.
Yep.
So
Yep.
not
Only.
doing too bad. Yeah.
Only. Love this state. The infrastructure, wonderful. Good
exactly.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So are you on land out there?
Yeah. So we're on my in-laws block currently. They have 10 acres just out in the bush in a tiny little spot called Nowa,
Excellent.
which most people have never heard of unless they've been driving up to Sydney or something.
Nice.
You know, from Gippsland. So we have a little off-grid tiny house up there, which is pretty cool.
Tiny home.
Yeah.
So how is it living in a tiny home?
It's pretty cool. You do have to get used to it.
Yeah.
But for both of us, we moved out from, we didn't move from our own big full-sized house. So that was a lot easier. We didn't really have to downsize.
Right.
We've got a 20-foot expander home.
Yep.
So it's like a shipping container and then it expands out on both sides to be like triple the size of a shipping container.
Excellent.
So it's pretty small. And there's a lot of quirks that you have to get used to. But it's pretty good. Yeah.
So you moved out there with your husband?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome.
Yep.
And how long have you been living in the tiny home?
Almost 2 years. Yeah,
Wow.
yep. So Matt did a lot of work clearing the block before we got married because it was just like solid trees and bush and tea tree everywhere.
Yeah.
So he and his brother got the tractor into it, the backhoe, and just like cleared almost an acre.
Yeah.
And then, he kind of worked on getting the tiny home down from Sydney, had to go up and check that out and then, work out getting it trucked down. And then we got a whole ton of people out to actually like expand it. And you've got to flip out like sides and roofs and walls and floors and everything. So it's pretty cool.
Excellent.
And then he worked on getting all the solar panels and batteries and stuff.
Oh, so you're totally off the grid?
Yeah,
like
completely.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
That's
tank
so
water
cool.
and then solar power.
Awesome. And obviously there wouldn't be much roof space. Do you have tank water coming in from elsewhere or is it just from the roof?
It's I can't remember how many square meters it is, but I think it's about 37 square meters on the house, and then we've got a like a shed roof basically over the whole thing.
Excellent.
So that gives a bit more catchment, and then the gutters off that just pretty much give us what we need.
Yeah, wow.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
That's enough for 2 of you.
Yeah,
There you go.
So last summer when we first moved in, we did need to get in a few like IBC tanks of water from the neighbour's shed that we just trucked across the paddock and then just filled up our tank. But since then, it hasn't needed to be topped up at all. So that's been pretty cool.
So it's like a total off-grid community out there.
Yeah, well, we don't like to call it a commune, but it's like some of the family members have their own houses on the property as well.
Nice.
And then we have the parents' 10-acre block that's separate to that but adjoined.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent. Oh, cool. So did you go to any tiny home expos or anything like that to explore it before, or was it just sort of like a decision made spontaneously? Or?
Yeah, we'd kind of been thinking about it a little bit beforehand, okay, so we can't really just go and put a house deposit down now. We don't have the money for that. It's, and we kind of were specific in what we wanted as well. And so for both of us, we were like, well, really interested in kind of starting out debt-free and just starting small. Like I'd kind of grown up with that expectation anyway. My parents were pretty keen on like, just build from scratch if you can, or start small and then just build bigger as you have the money for it.
100%.
And I still love that idea. I think it's so good. So we talked about kind of, expanding from like a caravan or something.
Yep.
And then the idea of the expander homes came up and we were like, this looks, pretty interesting, like something we could really look into. So we did go and check out some options in Melbourne. But like the price-wise, they were pretty similar to Sydney, but the quality was a bit different.
Okay.
So there's like a lot of different options for the same thing. So we kind of tried to get the best quality for the cheapest price. So it was pretty cool.
I went to the Tiny Home Expo down in Geelong, and I was walking through, and I was like, this person looks really familiar, and it turned out to be one of my old uni lecturers.
Oh, love that.
And she's like super interested in off the grid living, which when
so cool.
she taught. What was she teaching? I can't remember what she was teaching, but she was teaching me a subject. It was like the person that she was then. I was like, definitely not the kind of person into a tiny home. And then she's like totally changed since COVID. She's like, I'm so off the grid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was one of your students way back when. She's like, oh,
yeah, you're you.
But the running through the tiny homes and just like, I mean, you do a whole home because I'm former, experience in real estate. I've walked through these big houses that, they're not like fancy mansions or anything, but you take a few, take a little
through.
time to get through, and then you do a tour of this tiny home, and it's done in 3 minutes.
You stand in the lounge room, you're like, all right, well, this is us.
There's a bed, bathroom, and we're out. Oh, okay,
literally,
cool.
yep. Like,
so, does it ever feel cramped?
When you have a lot of people in there, and like by a lot I mean like 6. So
yeah, right.
It's like, you know, we've got like a 4-seater couch, and this is the thing I think about tiny houses is you have to be very creative about how 100%. You're using your space.
Yeah.
So you know everything has like multiple purposes. Yeah. So the couch, you know, it's like a little L-seater, and it's a pull-out couch as well. So that's our spare bed.
Right.
And you know, then the short side of the L like pulls up, and that's where all our towels and blankets and stuff live.
Yeah.
So it's like everything has, you know,
multiple purposes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very utilitarian.
Yes. So
awesome.
It does get a little bit squishy when there's a lot of people in, but we have had like 14 people in there for a movie night, and it's tight, but
far out.
You know, it works.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah.
So is the plan eventually to move into a on-grid house,
normal
I guess?
House.
A normal house.
Yeah.
I don't want to say normal house.
Yep. Yeah,
discriminatory.
Definitely. Yeah. So, yeah, we're definitely looking at, you know, potentially getting like a fixer-upper next, and then living in that while we renovate it, and then like saving up for kind of a, you know, a more forever home or a more like permanent house.
And would that be regional or on the land?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Awesome. So it probably depends a little bit what comes up and what happens with housing prices and markets and all that kind of thing. But yeah, ideally, we've actually been looking at kid homes and stuff because
awesome.
I actually grew up in a house that was a kid home.
Cool.
And it was great.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like thinking about actually buying a block of land and then putting on, you know, even like a 4 or 5 bedroom kid home.
Yeah.
They are like, you know, $200,000 for like everything. And so
no, they're pretty swish. We were looking at them.
exactly.
We were looking at them as well when we were buying a house because we bought during COVID, where everything was going for ridiculous.
Yeah, crazy.
And all the auctions that we went to 7 auctions in a row where the prices would just jump up by like $150,000 outside of the range. And it's like, okay, so we've got to look at all of our options here.
Yeah.
And so we were looking at the kid homes, and then we walked into the house that we have now, and it's just, okay, this is the one.
Yeah.
And it's like you fall in love with that house as you walk through, and it's got arches, and it's, you know, built in the 70s. So it's
solid.
It needs work, but it's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
the Croatian guy that owned it before us was built it custom. And so I had an agent round to appraise it recently. He looked under the house. He's like, so have you had this restumped recently? I'm like, no, it's just, he's like, this could survive a nuclear war. And I'm like,
that's
good
what I
to
want.
know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yes. I love that.
But yeah, we were looking at the kid homes, and some of them are really like, not, you know, you get a lot for what you pay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is excellent. And I think, there's obviously going to be a lot of young people particularly that are looking at that. How do you think the next phase how do you solve the housing crisis? Is it just a lot of kid homes on large regional blocks? Or?
Well, you know, that'd be great. Yeah, I mean, I don't have like a structured plan per se, but I just think you would really be able to help by actually just, you know, eliminating or at least severely reducing red tape. Like actually just let people build houses on their own land. I think that'd be a great start because, you know, there's so much underutilized land, even like private properties and stuff. And because of, you know, whether it's things like bushfire overlays or just council permits and stuff, they're waiting for 5-10 years before they can start building. And like, it's just not worth it at that point.
And I guess the government's tried to sort of address the land banking issue that's outside a lot of regional centres where you have these syndicates that are buying into large, what were regional blocks but are now just at the edge of the urban sprawl and sitting on them waiting for them to get up to this price point and then flick them off. And I guess the government's tried to address that with the extra land tax and all that sort of stuff, but it's also affecting everyone else.
Yes.
So it's sort of having an unforeseen impact.
Yeah.
I mean... The fact that someone wants to just sit on a farm and let it rot and decay. And it's really sad. I was driving through, where was it now? Near Craigieburn, I think. And there was like 6 or 7 houses in a row that were on these massive blocks that had just totally been left to rot. It's like,
I know.
That's sad.
Yeah, it is. It's so sad.
Because they were
and
once
it's like,
family homes.
You actually have land. You know, like people would kill for that. You've
correct.
got so much space. We just want a little bit of it.
Yeah,
and they're
correct.
just like, I don't really care. But at the same time, it's like, well, it's their property. So, you know,
100%.
should somebody else be telling them what they need to be doing with their property? Or should they just be like, well, I don't feel like doing anything. And we're like, that's sad, but okay. You know.
Yeah, correct.
It's, like,
it's hard to navigate. So, housing crisis, not an easy one to solve.
But thinking about, you know, properties like my in-laws, the 10 acres that we're on currently, it's very, very unlikely that we would be able to get permits to build on that block. Otherwise, we would be like, sweet, like, we're set.
Yeah, build a house.
But yeah, because it's bordered by water on 3 sides, and with the bushfire overlay, you need a driveway on at least 2 sides of the property. And so it's like you're never gonna be able to do that.
Let that happen.
And so it's like, well, there's absolutely no point in us buying that property if we have no chance of building on it.
Correct.
So yeah, things like that. I'm like, who cares the most about how safe our family is going to be? Is it going to be the government being like, no, it's not safe, you can't build there? Or is it going to be us being like, I think this is a reasonable risk, we're going to build a house that's safe for our family and then live there? It's like, So
100%.
Getting rid of the red tape would be a massive first step, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're touching on politics, so let's dive straight into the reason you're in Melbourne this weekend. Would you like to talk a little bit about the March for the Babies?
Sure, yep. So March for the Babies was started in 2009. So basically it's a peaceful walk around Treasury Gardens in Melbourne to protest the laws around abortion in Victoria. So Victoria was the first state to allow abortion up till birth for any reason, and that was in 2008 on October the 10th.
Yep.
And so 2009, the MP Bernie Finn comes in and goes, right, this is disgusting. We need to actually, start protesting this. So they went to the steps of Parliament House on the closest Saturday to October the 10th and started saying, all right, government, there's a lot of people in this state and in this city who are saying, we're not cool with this. Why are all of our, why are people allowed to kill their children for convenience? This is like putting aside any medical reasons or, health reasons or anything. It's like for any reason. Are you kidding?
Yeah, okay.
So that was kind of how it started, and then that's been going on. So last year was the 15-year anniversary.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's been going a while.
There you go.
Yeah.
So how long have you been involved in it?
4 years this year. Yeah. So I took a bit of a year off last year after we were just getting married and everything was a bit crazy.
Yeah.
And so, coming back a little bit this year just to help out behind the scenes a bit.
Excellent. Cool. And so Bernie's still involved?
Yes. Yeah, he's been still working hard, heading it up.
Excellent.
And then there's a team of people behind the scenes as well who just kind of do all the practical stuff and, get things sorted like handing out balloons and, organising the truck and the speakers and all that kind of thing.
So it's a peaceful protest. I guess the aim of it is to see a change in legislation?
Yeah, so it's kind of twofold. Basically, half of it is about actual just awareness. Like people in the city have no idea that there still are pro-life people around. And so it's kind of like, hey, we're just ordinary people who have this, this view, this perspective. And then, the other half is, hey, like government, we actually, I know this was 15, 16 years ago. 17 years now.
Still important.
This is still relevant to us because children are still actually, going through this procedure.
Yeah.
So, Joanna Howe in Adelaide, she's a lawyer over there, been doing incredible work in the pro-life sphere, and she's been doing amazing actually raising awareness and actually because so many people in Australia have no idea that the legality is what it is. You go up to some random person and you're like, did you know that abortion was legal up until birth for any reason? If you get the permission of 2 doctors, you're good to go. And people are like, no, I had no idea. Like, I thought it was up to 12 weeks, maybe like 16 weeks max.
Yeah.
But, in Victoria, there have been healthy, viable 37-week-old babies who have been killed. In Victoria. And that's just crazy.
Yeah, wow.
And most people don't know that. And so, part of the mission of March for the Babies is sharing throughout the year before the march what's actually going on and why people are upset about it. Because there's so many angles to approach abortion as well. Like, a lot of the people who come are Christian and they, obviously value the sanctity of life very, very highly. So that's the main reason for them. But it doesn't have to be at all. Like, I am a Christian as well, so that plays into it. But it's very easy to argue from a secular worldview, I think, because you're like, okay, so when is this child a human? Should we be killing innocent humans? Yeah. But that's basically my whole thing.
So obviously, coming from the religious perspective, the analysis would be that the baby's life begins at conception. Is that what the protest is arguing for?
So basically, yes, but not from a
religious perspective.
Yeah, not from a religious perspective.
So it's seeing an end to abortion.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Okay.
But, anyone in there, there are some things like the Babies Born Alive bill.
Yep.
And that's like, okay, so, late-term abortions, so from 20 or 23 weeks, they actually have to inject the baby's heart with potassium chloride, which is a poison, stop the baby's heart, and then give the mother pills to induce labour. So she delivers the baby. She has to go through labour anyway. And so that bill was just to say, just give her the inducing pills so that she can birth the baby and then give it up for adoption.
And did
just
that pass?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
I think lost by like one vote. This is in South Australian Parliament. There have been similar bills around. I think George Christensen put one in federally, I believe. And then that big one was in Adelaide about a year ago. So, that's like, that's another battle. It's like, okay, even if we can't just go straight to, no abortion ever for any reason, if we can stop babies past 23 weeks, being killed by a late-term abortion, we can deliver them alive and give them to a family who is, just crying out for a child. That's a huge win. So, yeah.
So when it was legalised, I guess the argument was that it would be, safe, legal and rare. And I guess the point that you're making is that it's not no longer rare, it's more for convenience. Would there be a compromise position, or is it just sort of like this is the goal and anything that we get towards that's a positive change?
Yeah, I mean, I think that all of those steps are a compromise in a way.
Yeah, sure.
Like ideally, I do think that all life from conception is valuable, and that each, whether it's an embryo, a zygote, a fetus, whatever you want to call it, is a fully human being, a human organism, and they are worthy of human rights.
It's the Charlie Kirk argument. Yeah.
Exactly, and I agree with that. So, ideally I would love to see people actually valuing a child enough to recognise that.
Okay.
But, any step back from that is a win. If it means that more children are born into loving families, that's a win. So, when you mentioned abortion may not be rare, I was looking at some World Health Organization stats the other day. 73 million abortions a year worldwide.
Yeah, right.
So just think about those numbers. Like, that's just mind-boggling.
Insane number.
And, the majority of those are early on. But they're also majority for, someone who didn't feel like they were in the position to have a baby. And also that I think it's 0.5% of abortions are because of rape.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of people will go straight to, but what about rape? Because obviously that's an issue that just I can't comprehend the difficulty and the struggle that a woman would be going through at that point in her life. But, okay, if we can agree, an abortion from rape, okay, let's go with that. Then can we agree on 99.5 of other abortions being unnecessary, or at least, a much more grey area? Yeah. So, that's another aspect to it.
So how do you respond to the people that say, that make the financial argument, like they're not financially ready for a baby? Obviously it's expensive, there's a cost of living crisis. What's the response in your camp to that?
Yeah, I guess the first thing is, what do you mean by financially ready? Because who's going to be financially ready?
Sure,
And so it's like, yes, sure, you may be living in dire poverty. Okay, definitely. We can agree that a child would be extremely difficult bringing into that situation.
Sure.
So, I would first say, are there any pregnancy crisis centres around you that you can actually go to and gain some sort of support from? Are there church groups even, or family members who can actually help you where you're at so that you can keep this child? Because obviously the ideal situation is that they grow up with their biological parents in a family setting that they were born into. But, if none of those things, if they're all kind of dead ends and nothing's really going ahead, then there are thousands of families waiting on adoption lists in Australia. And, adoption is very hard, but it's much easier if you kind of put that baby up while you're still pregnant. And then, they can go from there and hopefully be a joyful, loved part of someone else's family. I think adoption is very underrated in our society. We talk a bit about foster care and like respite care and stuff, and they are wonderful things, but adoption itself is so beautiful. Imagine there's a couple, infertility rates are going up 1% every single year. And so you've got more and more and more families who are going, okay, well, if I can't have my own child biologically, can I provide a home for someone else's child that they couldn't provide for them? And I feel like, why is that not supported? Why is that not talked about? So, I think that's something that shouldn't be off the table as an option if a family is not able to provide for their own child.
So do you think that it's a societal issue in that it's, be careful how I say this, it's so accessible, so that's the easy option, whereas not like, obviously I'm not going to be looking out for pregnancy centres because I'm not going to get pregnant, but like the availability of those support networks aren't as promoted.
Yeah,
do you think that's
definitely.
an issue, and how would you resolve it? Obviously it's promote those things, but where do you find those?
Yes, exactly. It is very hard. You're right. That is a big thing. There's a lot more, like health centres and medical places that are providing abortions than there are, I guess, pro-life pregnancy crisis centres.
Yeah.
Some of those crisis centres also don't advertise themselves as like proudly pro-life, which is fine. And so that just makes it a little bit harder to kind of recommend places.
Yeah.
Because, they are out there. But yeah, something that I would love to do in the future, and it's kind of been on mine and my husband's hearts for quite a long time, is to start up, some more pregnancy crisis centres, especially regionally, because there's nothing really outside of the suburbs of Melbourne.
Yeah.
And just have spaces where women can go when, they feel like they don't have any choices, they don't have any options. Because, that's the thing I think with abortions, the vast majority of women who go through abortions say, I didn't have any other option. I didn't have a choice. Whether it's from coercion or just their life situation, they're like, there's no way that I can bring this baby in. And so...
And they weren't aware of it.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't know it was there. They didn't know help was really there, or they didn't want to be a burden or something like that. They didn't want to live off somebody else. But they don't really know that there are that many people around who are like, I would so gladly have your baby. And I would so gladly support you to keep your baby as well. And give you, the support that you need through that situation. So I would love to kind of move into that sphere a little bit in the future.
Okay. Excellent. Would you say that it's sort of importing an Americanized cultural issue in some ways? Because obviously this legislation changed a while ago, whereas in America there's obviously the recent overturning of Roe v. Wade, which pushed abortion legislation back to the States. Do people say that it's just Americanized? It's an injection of American politics into Australian politics, or is that not something that you hear so much?
Yeah, I haven't really heard that.
Okay.
There definitely are people who talk about Roe v. Wade, but yeah, that's not, I think, so much on the forefront of people, because everyday Aussie isn't keeping up much with American politics.
No.
Basically, they're like, I hate Trump, and abortion is healthcare.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, with this issue, that's about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So, you want to move into that sort of support space,
Like
which
to,
obviously
yeah.
people don't know exists.
Mm.
What sort of services do those places provide? Like what is the actual help?
So some of them have donors that will be giving money consistently to those places.
So
and
it
so
can
then,
be financial.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. So they'll provide either your like tangible objects like, nappies and wraps and prams and car seats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so you can actually go directly to them and be like, hey, I am desperately in need of a car seat to take my baby home from the hospital and I cannot afford one. And they will actually either speak to their donors or have money already on hand from donors that then they'll put into those kind of tangible things.
Yep.
Otherwise, I believe some of them have people who will then walk alongside you. And, there's a lot of like counselling and mentoring type roles as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is like psychosocial, wreasons where women are just really struggling, especially if the pregnancy was unplanned, which most of them are.
Right.
So yeah, that's another big thing that they'll do. Yep. So another WHO, I'm thinking about unplanned pregnancies versus planned pregnancies. So 61% of unplanned pregnancies end in an induced abortion, which is different from a spontaneous abortion. That's a miscarriage.
Yeah.
So that's where it's hard to see your recorded numbers and stats and stuff, because there's been recently some stats floating around that 33% of all Australian pregnancies end in abortion, which is shocking.
Yeah.
But I think it's only fair to
Also
actually
not
say,
true.
well, the stat is true, but the word abortion medically is used for an induced abortion and a spontaneous abortion, which
Okay.
is a miscarriage.
Right.
So, yeah, a quarter of all pregnancies are lost,
Yeah.
but that's split between miscarriage and abortion. And, yeah, they don't have to report them before, I think it's 14 or 12 weeks.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard to know actual numbers. But, yeah, globally, 61% of unintended pregnancies are induced abortions.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And 29% of planned.
So you were mentioning about the makeup of the protest before being majority Christian. Who else is there? Are there other people that are completely like, I don't know, atheist action groups or anything like that? Are there other faiths present? Are there other political groups present? Who else is there?
Yeah, there are some other faiths especially.
Yeah.
And so you've got like basically every different denomination of Christianity, including a lot of Orthodox guys and a lot of Jewish folk as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some, I think I have seen some Hindus there as well, which surprised me, but fantastic. That's great. And there are definitely some secular folk as well who come along. There's actually a whole organisation called Secular Pro-Life. Which is really cool. And I love their arguments because this is what, I'm very passionate about, actually just saying pro-life things from a, just a logical and an ethical perspective rather than just a faith perspective because, it's just much more about human rights rather than exclusively the sanctity of life. Yeah,
exactly. Because I guess the number one point would be the assumption that being pro-life is a religious viewpoint.
Yep.
So if there's somebody else that's not religious making arguments, that can be helpful to your cause.
Definitely. Yeah.
So do you feel at all concerned with the threat of political violence against something that is so controversial and such a hot button issue and like something that's very, very personal and a lot of people are, like I was speaking to somebody today who literally was like, hands off my uterus and full on just like don't want the government anywhere near them.
Yeah.
Do you feel threatened by that at all?
Sometimes. So
have you dealt with much?
A little, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So a couple of years ago, there was a bit of violence coming when we were at the march, and I was very heavily involved in organising that one. Like very heavily, right at the forefront. And so the police kind of were coming to me, and they were like, because I'd been liaising with them. The police are fantastic at the march; they are so good. And so they'd come up and been like, you're one of the organisers, you're probably going to be a target. You need to stay right with us, right at the truck the whole time.
Yep.
And then someone literally, all dressed in black, jumps out. They'd been hiding underneath the truck. And they jumped out with a sound bomb and tried to, throw that on the stage and whatever. And so, that was definitely happening a couple of years ago. And there was, at the same time, a few people who had actually walked with us quietly who then started doing the same thing and throwing stuff around the crowd and yelling and just causing trouble. So that is definitely a thing that happens, but not every year.
Okay.
So I think it was 2012 or something where there was some violence that happened on the street around Parliament, and a few people I think were kind of knocked down, but I don't know of any serious injuries. And so, thankfully the last couple of years have been very peaceful again. That main one was right after Roe v. Wade. So tensions were pretty high. But thankfully our march has a fantastic reputation with the police. And so one of the officers actually said to me like, oh yeah, when we hear about your march coming, everyone's like, I'll put my hand up for them. Like I want to help out with those guys. They're great. And I was like, oh sweet. Like that's a big compliment. They actually respect us and they know that we're going to be willing to work with them. And they are fantastic to work with.
Awesome.
So that's very encouraging.
That's really good.
Yep.
It's very important having a good relationship with the police for that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely would help.
Yes.
So what are other political issues that you're passionate about that you're actively involved in? Are there many? Are there any? Or is this like your one thing?
No, I try not to be a single issue kind of person in regards to politics.
Yep.
Housing is probably a big one at the moment. Obviously, as a young adult looking towards buying our home and our property and kind of planning our future in that way, I'm like, okay, government, get your game on.
Yeah.
So that's probably a big one. Yeah. Other than that, immigration is probably a big one.
Yeah.
So basically, all the hot topics I'm interested in and kind of following along with.
Right. Not controversial at all.
No. I don't mind a bit of controversy every now and again. But all those kind of things. And patriotism a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Like actually teaching people about Australia so that they will value our country, as it is, where we've come from, where we're going. Because I feel like if we aren't actually taught about our country in a way that enables us to be proud of it, then why would we care?
Yeah. And how would you instill patriotism in today's society?
That's a good question. Yeah.
You asked for good questions before we started.
I did. That's true. I did ask for good questions.
Try my best. Yeah.
I think a big thing is actually your culture as you're going into talking about politics.
Yeah.
So whether you're coming in with a very individualized mindset or whether you're going in with, more of a family mindset or more of a nationwide mindset.
Yeah.
So, instilling patriotism, going in, thinking about what's the good of our nation, and actually encouraging younger people especially to start thinking about that. Like, okay, so is the government's job just to give you money and give you handouts and make your life easier and just, tax other people more but not you because you're just getting their money? Or is it actually like, okay, how do we get Australia back on track? So I think a lot of that is from education. But also has to come from within the family unit because that kind of discourse, is very much just a family in the home. What's your parents' perspective? What's your family perspective? What's your friends? Like who's actually speaking into your life in that? So, I think being careful about who's talking to you and what kind of a mindset you're taking on, whether it is what I can get out of life, Australia and the government, or what can I actually do to be part of something that's much bigger than myself. Yeah, well, you touched on speech. It needs to be open speech, and that's exactly,
sort of what I'm trying to move the podcast towards is, conversations that you don't necessarily have at the dinner table, but that need to be had. And so discussing politics and money and religion and that sort of stuff is super important to me because I think it's making sure that we're able to speak about these ideas in a sensible way and maybe we move towards more of a debate format where I'm sitting in the middle and we've got someone from both sides and
I would love that.
Okay, awesome, we'll count you in. There needs to be conversations had because we don't have we can't lose our open discourse
100%
because that's when things get dangerous and not
what's the quote? When people stop talking, that's when they get violent.
That's when the violence starts.
Yes,
100%.
Exactly.
So I guess open speech at home and being comfortable to have conversations with your parents.
Yes.
I was the political nutter in my family, and by nutter I mean I'm just a nerd about politics. So I followed politics quite actively and my parents weren't super involved. Like they had their views, but they weren't super interested in it. And it was just, I'm going to keep bringing this up and we're going to discuss these things. And it got really annoying for a while there for them, but they bared with me. So we eventually had those discussions. So I think that's good. Did you have much of that growing up?
Yeah, thankfully I did. I definitely got a good head start. So my dad's been, politically aware, definitely, and also a little bit politically involved most of my life. Especially actually started after Black Saturday, which is interesting because he was like, okay, so why weren't they doing like coal burns and actually preparing the bush? What's going on with fire management? We were living in Belgrave Heights at the time. So full on fire danger everywhere. And so after that time, he actually started getting a bit more involved. And then, just cultural issues and worldview issues that he was like, righto, I have to get involved somehow.
Yeah, once you get started, you've got to... Oh yeah, there's all these other issues going on.
Exactly.
100%.
Mum has a bit of a different leaning. Like she's still, on the same page politically, but just has a different approach of how to actually get to the same end.
Yeah, sure.
And so that's always fun. But my family's never really been immediate family has never been one to shy away from a good juicy political conversation.
Awesome.
You're kind of not supposed to talk about it at like extended family Christmases or anything.
Well,
that could have get a bit spicy.
That was me. Me. Sorry
James
to all of my cousins.
What do you think about this?
Yeah, pretty much. It was just like it'd be everything. It would be when I first got politically involved. It was the Scottish independence referendum, which was way back when in 2014.
That is a bit of a political nerd thing.
Yeah, very much so. Well, Scottish by heritage and passionate about. I'd watched Braveheart a few times, and so I'm like, independence. And then I've gone, hang on a minute. I'm not sure that I agree with everything that they're saying. And then, 2016 rolls around, Trump and Brexit and everything else. And so naturally we're all talking about that. And as the I mean, Trump's been around for ages now.
Yeah, a long time.
But it's like you just sort of, the conversations evolve and it's like, haha, I was right about this. And you were wrong about this. And you were very wrong about this. And it was just,
but I feel like this
they continuously evolve.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like that's a very, very important thing. Actually keep conversations going so that your average Aussie will start really thinking about things.
100%.
We are your average Aussie, but at the same time, it's like I want to be the one who's just initiating conversations with people and just putting thoughts into their mind. Being like, oh, well, have you considered this? Actually just getting people to take their government seriously and be like, hey, we are in a democracy. Like, take advantage of that. You have the opportunity to be involved with politics as deeply as you want to get. You have the opportunity to actually make a difference and make a change in your country. Like, why would you not want to do that?
Yeah.
You don't like how something is working? Okay, do something about it.
100%.
Like, this is a pet peeve of mine when people complain about what the government is doing and don't make a single step to do anything about it except voting, which is literally mandatory.
Or they donkey vote.
Yeah, exactly. Which is like less than the bare minimum.
I was having that discussion in the office the other day.
Oh, that sounds fun. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, if you're going to complain about that, so what are you going to do about it? Yep. Are you going to join a political party? Are you going to join some sort of, lobby group? Are you going to sort of try and put forward a bill or put forward a motion in your local political party or your local electorate? What are you going to do about it? Because you've got to do something. Otherwise, I think you've abdicated your right to actually complain about the government if you're not going to do a single thing.
So how long have you been involved in politics in general?
5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So I joined up to the Liberal Party when I was 16.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so still kind of going along there.
Excellent.
More involved and less involved by seasons and turns. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's where I am at the moment.
Yeah. Swish. Because you've moved out to Whoop Whoop. Are you still keeping in touch with your family?
Yeah. Yep.
Considering that you've basically moved from this side of the state, or I say this side of the state,
well,
thinking that I'm in Geelong.
Yep.
But, one side of the state to the other.
Yeah, yep.
How has that been?
Yeah.
Staying in contact, communicating.
Yep, it was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So living out half hour southwest of Ballarat.
Yep.
And then now living out 15 minutes east of Lakes Entrance.
Yeah.
So it's a 6-hour drive between where my parents live and where I live.
Yeah.
And I lived with them until I got married and moved out. And so, it was a big change, really big.
Yeah.
And I was the last one. I'm the youngest. I was the last one at home. And so it was just me and mum and dad.
Yeah.
And then I was just gone.
Yeah.
And so I think they struggled with that probably a bit more than I did for the first few months especially. But
because it's all new and exciting for you.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's always harder for the people who kind of left behind.
Yeah.
I'm moving on to something new, and so it feels a bit more normal.
Thing.
Yeah. But at the same time, it was just like, especially I have 2 little nephews and 1 little niece in Ballarat.
Yeah.
And so I miss them a lot. I was very often over there hanging out with them.
Yeah.
We're very close. And so that was really hard because, you can video call with everybody else, but when you've got a 3-year-old, they don't really, you can't really just video call the same way. It's not the same.
Yeah.
So that was probably the hardest bit for the first probably 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
After about 9 months, I felt like I started, putting down some roots and actually settling a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I knew the area already quite well before I moved up there. But still, you give up all of your defaults when you move to a new area.
Of course.
Where are you going to go just to get your groceries? And where's your go-to fuel station or your server?
Pizza joint.
Exactly. Where are all your normals, your defaults, your go-tos? I didn't have any of them. And so it's I'm crying one day, I have to put in maps to get to Woolies. This is ridiculous. So that takes a bit to get used to.
Of course.
Yep. Once you settle in, I really do love the area. It's so good out there.
Well, your moving out experience is probably a bit different to mine. I moved a couple of suburbs over.
Yeah, that's cheating.
I was
count.
Correct. I was already pretty familiar with the area because Dad's business was, that was where I grew up. Dad's business was in this suburb, and then I moved into this one. So I was all of my regulars, most of them stayed the same.
Yeah.
But then when my mum and dad and my brother all moved off to Queensland, then it's been I'm the one who's left behind. This is weird. I can't go around for steak night anymore. It's okay, cool. You're all having this new exciting paradise in Queensland, the wonderful state that it is.
Yes.
And I'm still here. So, okay.
Okay,
cool.
Life as normal, I guess.
Yeah, correct.
Yep.
But you go into all of the regulars and they're like, so how are your parents doing?
Yeah, you're like,
better
I don't
than
know.
me.
Yeah, yep. Yes, and that would have been a nice thing to be able to move and still have your regulars because for me as well, when I shifted, I'm self-employed, and so I left all of my clients and my work back there and had to start from scratch up here as well, whilst establishing a new tiny home and putting grass seed down on the lawn because it was a big dirt patch when we moved in.
Of course.
And, starting up with a new marriage and a new place and a new, everything was new, it was all at once. So it was start from scratch with work as well. And it's okay. So I had a lot of spare time as I built up my client base just to kind of sit and process and work through things, which was actually probably not a bad thing. But it was a lot.
Because jump into your business. What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm a hoof care provider for equines, so horses, donkeys, ponies.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that kind of thing.
Cool. How'd you get into that?
Yeah, so I started working on my own horse when I was 15, after I got him when I was 14.
Yeah.
And then, after a few months, I was like, this is kind of cool. I found it very rewarding. You can make a very big difference in a very short amount of time.
100%.
And I knew there was a big demand for it in the area because I hadn't been able to find anybody.
Yeah,
and
right.
That was part of the reason I started doing it myself. myself, as well as it was expensive. So I was like, okay, so I can get a bit of good money from this. You know, there's a fair bit of demand for it. I'm pretty sure I could get clients fairly easily. I enjoy the work. I'd always wanted to work with horses. I just hadn't figured out exactly what it was going to be. And so I was like, I've been, thinking about what am I going to study? What am I going to get into? Do I want to do a uni course or anything? Or do I just want to, get a job at a breeding stud or something? And so I was like, okay, this looks pretty cool. So I started looking into study that I would need. Ended up doing a diploma of equine podiatherapy with a small, it's a small independent college. They have like 10 to 30 students per year from all over Australia.
Wow.
And so, I was like, okay, let's do that.
Very specialised.
Yes, very niche.
Yeah.
So I started studying that when I was 16, qualified at 18. I'd started running my business a bit when I was 17 to get a bit of a client base up while I was still studying.
Cool.
And so I'm still running that business self-employed now.
Excellent.
So with a bit of a gap in the middle when I moved across to the other side of the state and had to start
all over
up.
again.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
How good that you've got a skill that translates to another regional area.
Yes.
How do you think? Do you have any opinions on, the traditional way, which is go to school, go to uni, get a job? What's your thoughts around that? Is that the best solution for a lot of people, or do you think people need to be exploring alternative avenues?
Oh, that's such a good question. I don't think the uni should just be the default. I'm like, okay, so what do you need your degree for? For me, it was very relevant. I was like, I can't really get into this field unless I actually know how to do it properly. So I'm going to go and study it for a couple of years.
Sure.
And then I'll know what to do and how to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas, I don't think it should just be like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I might just go and get into, like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of student loan debt.
Yeah.
And then figure out what I want to do after that. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
So, like if you need a doctor's degree or an engineer's degree or any of those kind of things, I'm like, absolutely. Like, they're a very niche and, highly qualified skill set that you're really going to need your degree for. So I'm like, in those cases, go for it. But I would I guess refer back to Charlie Kirk again. And be like, I think he was pretty much bang on in his perspective on, college education, uni education. Like, there's nothing wrong with just hopping straight into an apprenticeship. If you know what you want to do, go become a plumber or go become, a carpenter or something. And otherwise, just think a little bit outside the box.
100%.
I guess I had a head start on thinking outside the box because of my family. And they were always quite good at doing that. Like, okay, so what do you want to do? Like, do you want to start your own business? Do you want to work here? What do you want to do? And so I was like, okay, I have options. Let's think creatively. So I think that's really cool.
Did you always know that you wanted to work with animals? Or was it a more recent thing, from the start?
Yeah. So, I'm like 5 years old in the suburbs being like, Mum, can I have a pony? I was that kid.
Everyone talks about these kids. I've never met one.
Yeah, I know,
here
that's
they
me.
are.
Hi. So, once we moved out from the suburbs to a 20-acre property when I was 6. And so I was like, hey, Mum, about that pony. And so they were like, okay. So they actually, pretty much. They bought me a little Shetland pony. It was tiny. And the whole thing was an absolute disaster because we had no idea what we were doing, absolutely clueless.
And Shetlands aren't the nicest.
The worst. No, literally the worst. I still work with them every day. I'm like,
There's a mutual resentment of each other.
Well, they're either like perfect little angels or they're just absolute nut jobs.
Demons,
And there's like nothing in between. So, nothing happened with this guy that went right because we didn't know what the heck we were doing. And I was 7 years old, so I couldn't train him. And he was very young, and so he needed a lot of hands-on training, which we could not give.
You couldn't provide.
Yeah, exactly. So that all went belly up for a few years, and then we ended up just giving him back to the stud where he came from. Like, he tried to kill my cousin, he's like rearing up at him, and cousin was like rolling out under the fence. It was crazy.
So what was this sweet little angel's name?
Flicker.
Flicker, yeah.
Which, he was a boy as well, which we found out later the name Flicker means pretty little girl. We didn't know
That's
that
why
at
he's
the
angry.
time. Yeah,
That's
probably.
why he's upset.
That would explain a bit, wouldn't it?
I've come all the way out here and they've given me a girl's name.
Yeah, come on, man. So that was that first experience, and then my parents were like, all right, once you've grown up a bit and you have you have your own money, you can buy your own horse, and it's going to be completely your responsibility. So we'll get you a lot of lessons and like get you to go and hang out with other people's horses for a few years. And then once you know what you're actually doing, then you can take care of your own horse.
So did you work at a stud or?
No, I just hung out with other people's horses a lot. Right. So I had like a few, I think a year of riding lessons. And then there was this lovely old lady who lived 10 minutes from us. And she was like, she had 6 horses. She was like, I would love for Anna to come and just hang out with me. So I went over there once a week for like 2 years straight on a Thursday morning. And at that point as well, I was actually struggling with horse allergy. So I would go home every Thursday.
The perfect hobby.
I know, after being there for 2 hours, and I was like knocked out for the rest of the day.
Far out.
Just like conked.
Yeah.
And so she was so kind and so generous. And then like once every few months, she would be like, do you want to come out for a whole day and we'll just go out for a nice big ride? I'm like, yes, absolutely. So that, you know, she taught me everything I knew about horses before I got my first horse. She was just such a blessing. And so then she also actually started getting me into what is now my career, which is pretty cool because she was taking care of her own horse's hooves. And so I like would watch and learn a little bit.
So
and
she
then,
was your first mentor?
Yeah, 100%.
Excellent.
Yeah. She actually gave me this bracelet that I'm wearing today.
There you go.
Which is pretty cool.
Awesome.
And so she passed away a few years after, it was only like 6 months or so after I got my first horse, which was pretty tough.
Yeah, it would have been.
Sorry to be a wet blanket, but
no, that's fine.
Yeah, it was such a blessing. She was so good.
Yeah, nice. So how many horses have you had since?
So I just had one of my own after that, and then my best friend kept her horse at our place as well. So we'd split feed costs and go for rides and stuff together.
Excellent.
And then, when I was preparing to kind of move into state, I was like, this is not working. I do not have the time that this horse needs. So I made the very hard call to actually sell him on. But what was great was I actually got to give him to my favourite client back over west.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I know exactly how you treat your horses. I'm there every 6 weeks. And I get to hang out with them as well as you. So I was like, I know that if he's going to go anywhere, he's going to go somewhere good.
100%.
So that was pretty cool.
So do you think having that early responsibility of an animal, despite it being, a little terror, do you think that influenced your political beliefs?
Probably not the pony specifically.
Not the pony, but just
yeah.
broadly being given a lot of responsibility by your parents.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, just that kind of personal responsibility thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you do something, don't blame somebody else for what comes out of it because that was your choice to get into that situation in the first place.
Yeah.
My dad especially is very big on personal responsibility and people being responsible for their own families and their own, well-being. He's quite libertarian leaning in his politics.
Yeah.
And so, it's very much like government should get stuffed, basically, is something that Dad says.
Yeah.
So he's
typical
very
original
much,
attitude.
Yeah, 100%. And so, it's very much, I grew up knowing, we were on the property, we had chooks and cows and a little goat who was also an absolute psychopath.
Yeah.
And dogs and, all that kind of thing. So it was great. It was like the best childhood, you know. I look back, I'm like, oh, man, that was amazing, And I also grew up very optimistic about people, which I think is huge, like I wasn't aware that the majority of people are so hard to be around until I was an adult.
I wouldn't say the majority.
Well, yeah, sure, but there was a lot more. Like, it was a bit of a rude awakening in a way, because I wasn't like sheltered. We were always hanging out with, like lots of neighbours and cousins and like extended family and just random people down the street. My parents were very much like, okay, like anyone is welcome to come in. We very much made that effort to either, go out and bring something to, the neighbours or the family down the road or whatever, or invite them into our home.
Yep.
And so I really grew up, caring for people and being like, they have different life choices to us. They're not living like our family's living, but that's okay. Like, these are the choices that our family's making and the way that, my parents are raising me. So I'll just, I'll go with that. That must be a good thing. But that doesn't mean I think any less of those people. I don't think they're maybe living according to God's design, but we are. And, we're here to bless them instead. So it's like, cool. Yeah.
So your faith's obviously very central to your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
When have you always been faithful? Like, has it been something that's always been there, or did your parents take you to church? Where did it come from?
So I did grow up in a Christian family. My parents have been, Christians and strong, like, family Christian focus since before I was born.
Yeah.
It hasn't always been perfect for them. My mum is the first one saved in her family.
Yeah.
So, there's been a bit of difficulty for them. But, so I remember when I was, like, 7, I was going out to feed the dog. I had his bowl full of food and I was like, God, I really don't want to go to hell. So if you could take me to heaven when I die, that'd be great. Thanks. And then I didn't think about it again. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then, you get a little bit older, 10, 11, 12, and I've just going around and around and around in circles in my head. Like, okay, is God even real? You know, like what's going on in this world? Like, you know, there's so much wickedness and people seem to, you know, have really good arguments for not believing in God, but it was just kind of like constant circles. And mainly it was just my own pride being like, no, I've got this. I'm running my own life. Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Which was like very defiant 12-year-old me, like 100%. And so, but it was this circle, you know, like I was always very outdoorsy and just loved being outside and just looking at the world and, you know, like hanging out with animals and climbing trees and laying out on the grass in the paddock. And, you know, so I was always like, I can't comprehend that this whole world could have just happened. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, you know, and like doing uni especially, like kind of reaffirmed that for me. Yeah. Like the intricacy of design in biology is just phenomenal. Like it's incredible. And so you look at something so detailed and it's like, how does that all work together? Yeah. Like, how is that accidental? You know, things can't just, like, they've got to be working perfectly together to even be existing. So how did they start existing if they weren't perfectly working together in the first place? Yeah. And then, so I'm constantly like, okay, so there has to be some sort of intelligent design. You know, there has to be some sort of creator. So is it, you know, a kind of new age philosophy where it's like, you know, the world, the universe, all that kind of creation focus? Or is it another religion that's correct? Or is it actually, you know, the God of the Bible? Yeah. And so it was kind of this, like I wore out this track in my mind, just going around and around. And I was like, okay, I think if there is a God, then it's the God of the Bible, which means I know what I have to do. Like, you know. That means that God is, you know, 3 in 1, Jesus, Holy Spirit, the Father. And so I'm like, okay, well, the rest falls into place from there. Yeah. So it just took me a long time, even though I kind of had that knowledge that I was going to get to that end for a couple of years. Eventually, it was just my pride just had to get out of the way. And I was just like, all right, God, you know, I can't do this on my own anymore. I'm so tired of fighting this. Yeah. It was just like exhausting, you know, constantly going around and around.
100%.
Yeah, so, you know, after that moment, just this incredible wave of, like, peace. I was like, oh, okay, it's done. Like, you know, not it's done, but, but it's, you know, this is the beginning of something new. I know this is right. I know that this is good. This is where I'm meant to be. Yeah. And so, from then, I was 13 at the time. And so from then, it's been a journey of, learning God's plan for my life and how to, what he wants my life to look like, basically. Yeah. And how to go forward with that the best way that I can while, you know, knowing that I am not capable of doing that on my own. Right. It's been good.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. Well, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have, actually. That's a few good topics.
Yeah, far out. The march, so by the time this comes out, the march will have already happened, so all the best with that.
Yeah, thanks.
I hope it's peaceful.
Same.
I'll just jump into quickfire. You knew that quickfire was coming. You've listened to a couple of other episodes. Yep. So, most important question, which footy team do you go for?
Hawthorn all the way.
I've had 2 Hawthorn supporters in a row.
Because we're the best. Sorry. You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, that's okay. That's okay. Who's your favourite player?
I don't know. It always was Buddy Franklin.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool, but then he ditched. So, I don't know. You know?
Traitor.
Yeah, it was a bit rude, I think.
Well, with Jen, like, with my partner, she's mad cats, but Gary Ablett's a traitor. And then he came back and she was like, oh, no, he's okay now.
Yeah, yeah. See, he's pretty cool. I think he would have to be pretty top. Pretty high up there, you know. I don't like Geelong as a team at all, personally.
Well, you're a Hawk supporter, so it's not surprising.
You know, growing up Western Victoria, everyone goes for Geelong. You
all
would know
the doggies,
this. Yeah. But even more when I was growing up, it was you know because we're kind of between Geelong and Ballarat. Of course. It was all Geelong. Yeah. And so Dad and I were just like.
And because Geelong was coming into this era of just total dominance where they're always up there. I mean, the Hawks were obviously pretty dominant too. How did you choose Hawthorn being from out west?
Because they won 3 grand finals in a row, and I was like, well, these guys are clearly the best.
Bandwagoner. There you go.
Yeah, well, you know, it was before that because Dad was on board. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, it's either like Hawks or Richmond, you know? Richmond's pretty cool.
Richmond?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I was like, Richmond is cool. And then Hawks won 3 in a row. I was like, yep, I'm sold.
Yeah.
I'm good.
All right, there you go.
Yep.
I am sadly afflicted with Essendon, as many know, and they've never been good.
We'll forgive you for that.
In my lifetime, so I didn't have any success to be like, yes, they're my guys.
See, at least we have something to go back on
I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
They'll get there eventually, please.
Hopefully, maybe.
Favourite Prime Minister?
Tony Abbott. Yeah.
Controversial.
Oh, he's so good.
Why?
Oh, man, I think he's gracious, and that's really impressive for someone who's so high up in politics. Like he's very, he holds very strongly to his convictions and his worldview, and he's able to portray them in a very balanced way. I think he doesn't like flip-flop between extremes, and he's actually able to portray them graciously and be like, yep, I think this is the best way for our country to actually succeed and move forward. But he's not salty and bitter about it. And I respect that a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very easy to get jaded and bitter when you are in politics, especially imagine if you're prime minister, you've had more opportunity to get jaded than anybody else.
100%.
And he still stayed, balanced and steadfast and gracious.
Yeah.
Like respect.
Conviction politician.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. No, can't think of anything else. It's just there was one more, but it's just not coming to me.
Well, who's your favourite prime minister?
Oh, mine's probably...
Don't say Malcolm Turnbull.
I won't. I won't. No, mine probably... Oh, look. And this is based on what I'm reading at the moment. So it changes, right? As I find out more about every one of them. Yep. I think my favourite would have to be, at this very point in time, Bob Hawke, which is like...
Nice.
A bit left field, literally. Just that era when it was Reagan in the States, Thatcher in the UK, it was Hawke over here. They were all sort of cut from the same cloth despite being on different sides of the political aisle. They were all very much representative of their nations. Yes. And I love the fact that, Bob was a larrikin. Like he was definitely
so Australian.
Quintessentially.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have many of those characters anymore. So he's up there at the moment. But I'll read someone else's autobiography and then I'll be like,
great.
Yeah, that guy's awesome. I like him. Yeah. But no, I've read Turnbull's biography, so
you're safe from that one.
He's not up there. It is cool that he was a lawyer of who was it? Kerry Packer's lawyer at some stage. Nice. So there you go, little trivia.
And that's his little claim to fame.
Yeah,
Apart
from being Prime Minister. Come on. Okay, favourite movie?
Oh, that's so hard, man.
No, it's not.
It is. Or either 1985 Anne of Green Gables.
Okay.
Very sentimental.
Very left field.
So sentimental. Yeah. I grew up reading the books all the time. They are actually a massive part of why I am who I am. Right. Just like that optimistic worldview. Yeah. Whilst being like, oh, well, I'm just going to try and help other people. It sounds so simplistic. Yeah. But like it's beautiful. And
it's wholesome.
Just comfort movie, 100%.
Excellent.
Otherwise, if I want to laugh, Princess Bride.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
So good. And it's every genre of movie. I love that. Like you've got tragedy, it's hilarious tragedy, but it's tragedy.
Excellent.
You've got like drama, you've got romance, you've got humour. Oh, it's so good.
Yep. It is very, very good film. I went to see it when it was like live in concert.
Oh, so good.
It was excellent.
Yes, I was very bummed to miss that.
I'll let you know next time, but I don't know if they're going to do it again. Incredibly popular, and I think what's his face?
Carrie Elwood.
Yes, he was in the audience as well.
Oh, good. What, in Melbourne?
Yeah, he visited.
What?
Like he was watching the show with us the night. I don't think he was there on the night that I was there, but he was in. Like that was part of the billing was that he'd be joining.
Gee, no pressure on the instrumentalists.
Yeah.
They're just like,
the guy from the movie is going to be watching,
right
so you better not stuff up.
Exactly. Yeah, no pressure.
So no, it was excellent. It was
bet,
excellent. But that's one of the classic movies that I grew up with.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Good movie. Although I was very traumatized by the rodents of unusual size. Like nightmares.
Yeah. As a child, that was terrifying.
Oh yeah, the scariest thing I'd ever seen.
Even as an adult, it was
a bit freaky.
Yeah, that's just something about those puppets that are just like
they're so much scarier than CGI. Oh.
Yeah, CGI's like computer generated.
Yeah, exactly. You can just tell yourself it's fake.
But the puppets, it's like there's a little there's something about them.
Still moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, excellent. Well, look, thank you for being here. Thank you for covering an incredibly sensitive topic to a lot of people.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I hope that the people that watch this get value out of it and, just see it as another discussion. I think there needs to be more discussions about, things that we're not all comfortable about.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you. How do people connect with you?
So probably my Instagram is probably the best way because that's a public account. So you can just see what I'm doing, which I don't really use it very often at all.
Yep.
Otherwise,
Excellent.
I have my work Facebook if you want to see random photos of hoof restorations.
Cool.
They can be pretty cool. I think some people like them and think they're satisfying.
Excellent.
But yeah, those are probably the two best ways.
Yeah, sweet as. Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you very much again.
No worries.
Thank you for being here. Glad to get you on. And good luck with tomorrow.
Thanks. Yeah.
All good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.